Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coldplay Replay, where each week we rank and review every major Coldplay album. Last week we did Parachutes, and this week we are doing A Rush of Blood to the Head. And this week we have a lot of the same guest lineup. Unfortunately, Asa could not make it today, but we have another part of our core group, Cait Rose, here with us. So we're just going to go do a quick roundup again, just introducing everybody. So Gino, if you want to introduce yourself real quick, what you do and why you're here.
All over again. I'm a content creator for Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, MySpace, all that good stuff. My name is Gino Venturi, and I'm very happy to be here. And also, I am not heavily musically inclined. Sounds weird, but that's true. It's the truth. So, thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah. Josh.
I'm at some of the Josh on all social media platforms. I'm a shit poster, meme kid, co-host guy at a Waypoint here, and I'm here because Bret, threatened my family if we didn't do this.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Billy.
Hey, I'm BillytheDoor on all the social medias. I also stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/BillytheDoor, and I am here voluntarily because I'm a big fan of this album.
Billy, can you get closer to the camera?
Yeah,
Can you just get closer? Keep doing it.
You get
It's
close.
just, I am here voluntarily. Billy, blink
I
if
am
you're
here voluntarily.
Oh my god.
Cait, since this is your first week, do you want to introduce yourself and what you do, what you're about?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Cait. I'm CaitRose92 on Twitch. Former streamer turned full-time mod friend supporter of people on Twitch. And when the very first time I ever went into Bret's stream, when I heard he was a Coldplay fan, I was like, I never hear anyone like openly say that they're a Coldplay fan, because I feel like it's kind of this like it's like saying you're a fan of Nickelback or something. It's like, oh, Coldplay, like, whatever. And we seriously talked about it for hours because I've been a Coldplay fan since I was a kid. So I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. My name's Bret. Jim Tacey on Twitch, Jeb Ramerson on Twitter, part of the Waypoint podcast crew. And yeah, I am a Coldplay fan. So this week who would have thought?
Who would have known?
This week we are going over A Rush of Blood to the Head. It was released on August 26th, 2002, which is yesterday, actually, when I found out we were
wow.
we were recording
anniversary.
Yeah, actually, technically today in the US. Yesterday was the UK release. Today is the American release. And when I saw that, knowing that we were recording this episode this week, I was like, oh, that's a nice coincidence. It was produced by Ken Nelson, who produced Parachutes, the last album from last week. It was recorded. Recording took place over 9 months, from September 2001 to June 2002. The four main singles in order were In My Place, The Scientist, Clocks, and then God Put a Smile on Your Face. And then the runtime is 54 minutes, 11 seconds, based off of 11 songs. And reception, 80 on a Metacritic with a 9.0 user score. With the some of the reviews here, Pitchfork gave it a 5.1.
Oh man,
they gave it a 5.1.
What?
Not the same guy. This guy Joe Tangari, he said, "I'll avoid the obvious cheap shot there and instead offer that they still might. Parachutes proved that Coldplay has at least a nascent songwriting capability, and A Rush of Blood to the Head shows them testing themselves musically." Rolling Stone, Rob Sheffield, gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And he says, Coldplay's debut, Parachutes, was perhaps too mellow for its own good, too sedated in its good vibes, homogeneity, to stand up to repeat listens, but A Rush of Blood to the Head is a nervier, edgier, thoroughly surprising album. The guitars are still full of Pink Floyd, but the band has figured out how to let loose and rock out. Something Floyd has never learned. The same influences are here: the Radiohead, the Benz, OK Computer, the U2 of October and War, the Smiths of The Queen is Dead. But where Parachutes was a clumsy diary of a high-strung kid, A Rush of Blood sounds more like a band with the confidence to test its own limits. Johnny Buckland comes into his own as a guitar hero, while Martin has grown gratifyingly adult in his sobs and growls. And then to round out the reviews here, we got NME 4.5 out of 5 as well. And he says, Chris Martin has been doing a lot of thinking. While everyone else was digesting Coldplay's debut album, Martin was already asking difficult questions of both himself and his craft. He wondered whether Coldplay had the depth to improve on the concise, melancholic pop of their first set. Could they widen the picture? And sometimes that man is a bit soppy. So what? Nobody does soppy quite as tunefully as Chris Martin, as the stadium size, lighters in the air, tears down your partner's cheek love song, The Scientist proves. Like an embrace super ballad, only in tune. We may be hearing quite a lot of this in the higher echelons of the chart rundown. Will a Rush turn Coldplay into global superheroes? A question for neither listener nor band, but for the marketing department. Coldplay did the hard part. They made a second album that's significantly better than their first. It's a belter. Coldplay are standing on their own 8 feet. What will they ask of us next? All right, so now let's get into just general impressions. Billy, what did you? Oh, go ahead.
Can
Gina.
I ask real quick question? Pitchfork is out of 10, right?
Yes, 5.1 out of 10.
Man, they're just angry, dude. They
Well
just don't
deserved.
like them.
They're hard
Well
graders.
deserved.
Coldplay.
You know what I think Pitchfork is? Pitchfork is the band Coldplay that they were like, you guys could take the name. That's who they are. They are the people that originally had the name and they were like, you could take it. And now they're angry. That's what it is.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah,
That's true.
they seem to be tough graders because anytime I like look them up for any particular album, no matter how celebrated it is or not, it's got like a 3 out of 10 or 5. It's like so low.
Damn.
Like
Damn,
I kind of want to go into their reviews and see like what they give like 10
Right.
out of 10s if they do at all. But
Mhm.
but yeah, so general thoughts. Gino, what do you think of this album, man?
Oh, okay. Billy's not gonna go first.
Billy, you want to go
Do I just
first?
go? Billy was going.
No, I wanna hear what Gino has to say.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's better than Parachutes. I feel like I would probably rank them the same. The thing about this album specifically, there is some songs that immediately stood out to me, like heavily inspired by U2. And I don't like U2. I don't like U2, but for personal reasons, I could never delete them off my iPhone. And
We all went through that. Yeah.
yeah, but like I still haven't figured it out years later. You know what I mean? So like I don't like listening to U2. And then what's the name of the song here? God Put a Smile Upon Your Face heavily sounded like U2. So crazy, dude. And I was like, wow, this is that, because I haven't heard that song before. But there is songs in here. There's more songs in here I think that I like than I did in Parachutes. I can name obviously The Scientist, Clocks. Politic is great. In My Place is another song that I had known but didn't know that it was Coldplay when I first heard it.
Yeah.
Like I had just heard that song before, and then when I heard it, re-listening to this album, I was like, "Oh my god, this is them! This is crazy!" And yeah, just fell in love with it again. And I wouldn't say it's better or worse than Parachutes so far. So I'm gonna have a hard time ranking these two. I gotta think about it a little bit more.
Yeah. Billy, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, so I agree with like a lot of what the reviews are saying. Like, it's very different from Parachutes. Like, there's a lot more like heavier, louder sounds. You know, it's a lot less chill than Parachutes was. But I also think, you know, a little more experimental. I think some of the songs don't hit for me. So I think like the average quality is lower, and this is what I've thought for a while now. And listening again, I'm like, yeah, this still kind of holds up. That the average quality of songs is lower, but there are some like exceptional like The Scientist is one of my favorite songs ever, and Amsterdam's pretty close. So I think like the highs are highs, but on average it's a little bit, you know some of the experimentation doesn't necessarily hit
Yeah.
for me personally.
Kate, what about you? What are your thoughts on this album?
So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be here for the episode about parachutes, but I do love parachutes
Oh yeah,
a lot.
Give us your
And
give us your thoughts on Parachutes real quick.
oh, well, I guess, if I'm gonna be comparing the two albums, Parachutes is just so like sonically relaxing, and it really feels like a full album. Like if you were to put like all of Coldplay on shuffle, like a song from Parachutes come on and like I can tell that it's from that album, because it just kind of like every song like has kind of just this like, I don't know, just this note of just like it's similarity, but even though every song is unique, it just has like this sound that is just so perfectly that album. And so I find that album very relaxing. I think it's very beautiful. This album, um, even though like overall like themes are very cohesive, like it's not a cohesive album. Like this album jumps around from like, you know, calming tracks like Green Eyes and Warning Sign to then kind of like brash songs like what's the one I don't like A Whisper and Daylight and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a little more all over the place. So therefore I don't like it as much as a whole album. But it has some of my favorite Coldplay songs ever on this album. But it's not my favorite album, like at all.
Mhm.
But it has some of my favorite songs. So
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to rank in that way.
yeah. Josh.
All right, buckle up,
Okay.
y'all. Billy's internet is about to go out.
Oh,
We are here for some hard truths, as penned by Greg Miller. This album is a chore to listen to. Why is 3/4 of it like 3/4 of the album is tracks that are 5 minutes long? It's like it's so tedious,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we were talking about it last week. How like there were a couple songs where like, all right, Chris, like wrap it up, like come on, dude, like let's get moving. This entire album is almost all that. If you include the bonus track from Parachutes, we're looking at the same track length, 11 tracks on both albums. This one is 12 minutes longer. It's 12 minutes longer. That's an average of 4 other additional songs. But instead, we're just like dragging out instrumentation. We're dragging out themes of existential dread, and we're like in the feels. And it's just so long. And like a lot of these songs overstay their welcome. And it's definitely like all right, come on, dude. Like let's end this. However, there are like for all those criticisms, there are some songs on here that like I legitimately love. So like I could definitely look at myself listening to Parachutes through like start to finish again. This album, not a chance. Would I put a couple songs from this album in like playlists? Absolutely, because there's nothing wrong with 5 minute songs. Like a lot of my favorite artists have 5 minute songs, but when it's almost the entire album, like it just it was a chore. It was a chore.
Interesting.
hot
Interesting.
takes.
I
Yeah.
have to say that like when you're feeling that existential dread and like you're in your feels, like at least for me, like I want a song to go on that long because I am in it. Like if you're not in that place, then no, like who wants to listen to that for 5 minutes? Like I get it. But I do think it's interesting because I didn't even realize that so many of the songs were that long until you pointed it out. And Amsterdam, for example, Billy, that's also one of my favorite songs, like of all time. And like listening to it, that song goes by so fast for me. I don't know why. Like it doesn't feel like a 5 minute song. But then other songs, like A Whisper, it goes on for like 3 minutes, and I'm like, oh my God, this song is so long, and there's still a minute and a half left. Like, how is this possible?
It's 3:57. It's treading that line of might as well be 4 minutes. All right,
Okay.
it's long, and I definitely I was like, come on, dude, like get it over with. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, my general thoughts are kind of echoes what a lot of y'all already said. Is um, it does feel like Parachutes was much more cohesive. Like Cait said, like every song has that same like vibe. Like no matter which song you pick out from that track list. Whereas this album, it's almost split in between that Parachutes vibe, where it's like unrequited love and just songs based on love, and then some of the songs now are like um talking about topics of like war, death, like our place in the world, like much more urgent and like dreadful themes. And um, while I think some of the highs of this album eclipse most of Parachutes, I think that it because it's not as cohesive. Um, and this one of the songs on here is like one of my least favorite Coldplay songs in their entire library.
What
So
is it?
we'll get to that in a later. That's
All
part
right, all right.
that's
all
part
right.
of,
I'm jumping the
Oh,
gun.
man.
that's part of our hot stop category that we'll
All
get
right.
into later.
Yes,
Um,
of course.
but yeah, it's a great album. And I think critically it's their best rated. We'll get into it here in a second, but
Really?
either it's either their best rated and or their best selling album, because like I said at the beginning, this or last week, this album was still in the pre-digital music era, so a lot of the sales, a lot of the just juice around the album was people buying CDs or seeing them in concert, not watching them on YouTube or downloading songs or streaming. So this album still came out in a completely different era. But yeah, let me get through some facts real quick. So it sold over 15 million copies, 4 million in the US, and it has over 2.2 billion streams on Spotify. Can anybody guess what song kind of led the charge there?
The Scientist.
That's
I'll say
right.
Clocks,
I
because
bet.
Clocks is a lot more of a recognizable single for me. Even In My Place was more recognizable than The Scientist. So that's crazy that it is The Scientist.
Yeah, I was
By
also
more than
pretty
double.
surprised. Yeah.
More than
Damn.
double.
Yeah, Scientists had
Yeah.
like 1.1 billion. So
Yeah.
it's
A lot of people want to feel sad, you know?
I get it.
and
It's a
yeah,
classic
I-
breakup song, so like it's relatable,
well and kind of going off what I just said, like this especially the Spotify stats, this is all just the carryover from, I mean, when did Spotify come out? Like 2008 or 2009. So this is just carryover from, the legacy of the album, not what people actually were thinking of it and forming their own opinions at the time. So
Right.
Yeah.
it's kind of
Absolutely.
a snowball effect there. Awards, yeah, 4-time platinum in the US. It won the best alternative album and the 2003 Grammys. Second year in a row they won that award, as we mentioned last year. They won the 2002 Best Alternative Album Grammy for Parachutes, which we tried to talk about that last week. But Cait, why did an album that came out in 2000 won a 2002 award?
So award shows are bullshit is basically like the answer to that.
True.
There is a deadline for like of when things come out to when they're nominated for things. So I don't fully understand it. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. I'm sure there's an answer on the internet somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah,
think it
This
was
isn't the
too
first time
different.
that something like this has happened.
yeah. I was always like so confused because especially since A Rush of Blood to the Head won the next year's album, I was maybe they just submitted it really late or what have you, but yeah, I don't know. In
Yeah.
2003, they also won the Best Rock Performance Grammy for In My Place, and then in 2004 they won a Grammy for Record of the Year, Clocks. And then the week it came out, it charted number 5 on the Billboard 200 here in the States, and then it was ranked, I guess 10th best-selling album of the 21st century. And that was in 2015, so I'm not sure.
Wait,
Oh,
what?
cool.
Yeah. 10th best-selling album of the 21st century.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah, again, this was before nowadays
What?
music is so different with streaming and singles and stuff that the album sales are less cohesive nowadays than they were in the past. But here, let's go to our next question. What was y'all's favorite song from the album? Josh, I want to go with you first. What's your favorite song from
Ooh.
A Rush of Blood to the Head?
I don't know because there are high highs on this album, and I wouldn't say they're low lows, but they're just forgettable lows. Um, so I think I gotta go. You know what? Last week I went with Yellow. I went with the big single. I'm gonna go with Clocks, another single, because that's like you just you see it in movies and TV shows and everywhere. In My Place is like close second. Like those two are like right up there for me. In My Place, like definitely when I listened to this album last night, I was like, man, I thought this was like a Frey song. Like I didn't know this was a I didn't know this was a Coldplay song. But it was like it surprised me that it's on there, and I felt the vibes. And then Politic is also like those are probably my top three songs on this album.
Gino, favorite song?
What's interesting? I don't know if this is just me, but from what I'm seeing, comparing both albums, there's to me, I don't know if this is like a general audience thing, but there's always two songs that are songs that if you know Coldplay but don't listen to their albums, you know these songs. For Parachutes, it's Yellow and Trouble, and for Rush of Blood to Head, it's The Scientist and Clocks.
Mhm.
Is that like a thing? Like, is this like a general? Is it just me? Is what I'm wondering.
I could see it being a thing with like it the both the like all those songs being singles and especially like
Yeah,
radio friendly singles. So like people, I imagine 2002, you're driving, your Honda Civic
yeah.
and you're just listening to the radio and just
Uh,
blasting Clocks on the radio like several times a day. So I
Because
think I think that's what it is.
Brett mentioned that God Put a Smile Upon Your Face is also one of their singles
Mhm.
that they released as well for
Yep.
this album, but I had never heard that song before. And
Yeah.
looking at the plays on Spotify, it has one of the least amount of plays, compared to the other songs.
Mhm.
Interesting.
But I guess going to choose my favorite one, I don't know, man. I'm listening between it's between Clocks and The Scientist for me. They both start so iconically. The way just the piano comes in immediately for both of them. Oh man, I think just as a whole, I would have to go with The Scientist because I'm thinking of the music video, the lyrics, just everything that is so much more impactful in that song for me. Um, but I wouldn't. I'd want to just say The Scientist and Clocks both
Yeah.
are equally my favorite songs on this album,
Yeah.
and one of my favorite songs of Coldplay in general. So yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Billy, favorite song?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, all right. I'll do a 3-2-1. I gotta give honorable mention to Politic because that's such like a a crazy way to
Jets
start an
case.
album, and it's also so different from what we experience with Parachutes, where it's just like this crazy intense repeated guitar riff and drums and cymbals, and it's you're like, oh, this is different. So definitely want to give Politic a shout out, but you can't beat the emotions of The Scientist. Um, I also I think, The Scientist and Amsterdam, they're both like long songs, but I think because they build and they change, throughout, I think that's why those two songs, but they you don't really feel the runtime there, in my opinion at least.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And then nobody said this was easy, but nobody said it would be so hard. Like we've all felt that. Everybody's felt that. We felt that, these last 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Definitely we're feeling that in 2001. So um yeah, no, definitely top of the list for me.
Cait, favorite song?
Yeah. I also have a top three because I like things in threes, and I do this with like every album I listen to. I have to have a top three. Um, so I gotta jump on the Clocks bandwagon. I mean, it's not a bandwagon, it's just because it's an amazing song and it's the best song on the album. Um,
Thank you.
second favorite, Amsterdam. Third favorite, Warning Sign.
Oh, okay. Why do you like warning signs so much?
It's just like it's just so beautiful, and um it's just like, he's talking about he was with someone and he let her go, and it's just like the longing, and it's like the chorus is just this simple, like, the truth is I miss you, and it's just so simple, but like the instrumental in it, it's just, I don't know, I just love it. It's just so pretty.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about that song specifically is like I don't even know what you would call it, just the switch from guitar to solo piano. Like they just
Mm-hmm.
to close it out, like that's just yeah, it's a beautiful song.
Oh,
And
the ending of that, it's like haunting, but like in a weird way. The song ends so strangely.
yeah.
If you think about the last line and the last note, he drops off in a very strange way.
Hmm.
I don't really know why. I actually almost don't like it, but it's still one of my favorites. Um, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so for my favorite song, this is tough because like last week I picked Shiver because Yellow, which is a fantastic song. I keep wanting to like counter pick and like not pick like the bops that everyone knows. I mean, they're bops for a reason
Props.
and all that. So,
The
but
bangers, dude.
but obviously they're there for a reason. So, um, I think for my number one song, I'm gonna go with Amsterdam. Um, that song like it's just so emotional, and I had the lyrics pulled up here somewhere, but like just the just the ending part of that song when he's talking about how he's like giving up and all that, and then someone comes and frees him from like the pain, the suffering and all that. Like I just that always just resonates within me because we all need help sometimes, and we can't do it on our own. So anytime I listen to that song, it's definitely like kind of like what we were talking about last week. It's definitely reflective of who we are, where we're at, and just in life, as a planet and all that. But obviously, the scientists and clocks are honorable mentions, and then yeah, honestly, like every song is an honorable mention except one song. Um, yeah, Politic is great. In My
I'm
Place,
so curious
Yeah.
about
in
this
my
song.
in My Place is great. Like, God put a smile upon your face. Like the guitar is just ingrained in my brain. That riff that he does. But yeah, it's just a phenomenal album. So I wanted to go over some background information because I thought this was very pertinent to the discussion, and we've kind of brought it up already. But they started recording on September 17th, 2001, only a few days after 9/11, and that
Oh wow.
was a huge influence on the album. I mean, they've been quoted countless
Yeah.
times of how that kind of just hung over their heads when they were recording the songs, writing some of the songs later on. And Politic was actually recorded first, which is why it is so abrupt and kind of jarring and talking about like super intense themes. Um, in My Place was the first song written, which we can talk about this here in a second about like the opener of the album. But another big cool fact was that kind of like last week with Yellow, Clocks wasn't written when they started recording. It wasn't written until like midway through that process of recording the album. And so, and initially, Clocks was going to be on X and Y, the third album, um, which we'll get into it next week with Speed of Sound that uses the same beat of Clocks, just a little bit different. Um, and so that was fascinating that Clocks almost wasn't going to be on this album because it's arguably the number one or number two song, probably based on popularity of what people think about it. And
Mhm.
kind of what you said, Cait, with your general impressions that when they were making this album, they were quoted to have a distinct effort to craft a completely like different vision for this album compared to Parachutes. Kind of like how you said Parachutes is like
Mhm.
it's like a general vibe, whereas Clocks there's
Yeah.
some dichotomy between certain songs placed in the album. Yeah, and then the album name is stating to mean doing something on impulse. So usually when you get a rush of blood to your head, you're not like totally in the right state of mind usually, and so which is a general theme of a lot of their songs throughout the album. And then this is fascinating. The album cover was created by I'm totally gonna mess this guy's name up. Solve Sunsbo. I think he's Norwegian. He's a photographer, and for some shoot for some, I think it was called Dazed and Confused magazine in like 2001 or something. He wanted to use a 3-dimensional scanning machine to take pictures of people, of like these models. And then Chris Martin saw it in a magazine and he asked if they could use it, and they said yes. And then the singles were based off the members of the band. So the album cover is an existing image, but then the singles were based off of the 4 members of the band. So I kind of just brought it up, but what do you guys think about Politic? And actually we'll get into this. I'll kind of just season it as well. But what do you think of Politic as an album opener? But then also In My Place as one too, because that one was written first, and so that is like the general vibe that they had starting going into the recording.
It's a 1-2 punch for sure. Like it's just ba. Like it's a great way to start an album.
For you know how you mentioned that they wrote Clocks after later, like how they wrote what was it, Yellow? Right?
Yeah.
Is there like a reason that they do that, or are they just like, you know what, one more banger, dude, we got one more in us? Is that like
I think
is that how it is for them? Or
based on what I've read for Yellow and Clocks with the process of creating the album, as they record, they're not just recording the album, like the songs, and then just sitting around. So for Yellow and Clocks, it was just generally like something just hit Chris Martin, and with Yellow is him like looking at the stars. I can't remember where he was at, but then Clocks, he just started playing the riff on the piano or whatever the technical term is, and it just started flowing from there. And then even then they weren't going to use it on the album; they were going to save it. And then
that's crazy, dude.
Phil Harvey, the manager / 5th member of the band, was like, he was like, no, like the lyrics are like talking about urgency and not waiting, and so he's like, just put it out now, just like ask the
Chris, it's so lit, dude. Put it out now, man.
Yeah,
it's so
yeah.
lit.
I was gonna say that's how I picture it. Like literally, their manager hearing the song and being like, "No, this shit slaps," and like calling up the guy at the master, like where the vinyl's being recorded, and they're like mastering the album, and he's like, "You gotta listen to this." Yeah, and Chris Martin just plays it live, and they're like, "Get this on the album ASAP. This is gonna do numbers, be the best, like the best single on the album." So.
An interesting tidbit about Yellow that I just thought of that I couldn't say last time was he wrote that for Gwyneth Paltrow, right? That's what I found out.
I think they get together
because he was with her at the time, wasn't?
Wait,
I don't think
really?
I don't think they get together.
I don't think they were,
because they weren't
together for a long time, right?
They weren't even.
I actually know this because Green Eyes, he wrote about a former girlfriend.
Yeah.
And when when they were on tour for this album is when he got with Gwyneth Paltrow, and he stopped performing Green Eyes live because he felt awkward about it, because it was about a former girlfriend.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. The quote is
like, no, don't do that.
The quote for the album is like, or for that song is like, he wrote it for an American friend in parentheses. And then,
friend.
And then he's also like, and also for Johnny the guitarist. So like he kind of was being a little silly there with that.
Right.
So
you dog.
Is this around the time that he started being with Gwyneth Paltrow?
I would assume so.
This album?
So I guess a B-side song is Moses. Are you familiar with this song, Bret?
Yeah.
So he wrote that song for Gwyneth Paltrow, and then their first son was named Moses, and like they named him after the song.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got married in 2003, December 2003.
Okay, so yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
So they won the Grammy that secured him the the marriage for
Yeah.
sure.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm 100%.
Yeah, they were probably talking back then, but I mean, yeah, Politic, like, it's such a strong start. Like kind of going off
Yeah.
of In My Place, how that was like their first song that they kind of started conceiving. Like Politic is so heavy, hard, and like blunt in a way, especially with that
Mhm.
guitar and piano. But like they said, like just based on what was going on in the world at that time and when what they were feeling personally, like it definitely feels like that is like you can tell what kind of emotions they were feeling when they were crafting that song.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's a great start.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that song it's so
Um,
interesting. That song is like a time capsule
Yeah,
of that time, but that has aged incredibly well still.
yeah.
Mhm.
And sort
That's
of
so
like
true.
a cycle. Yeah, it's so weird.
I mean,
Go ahead,
I
Princess.
was no, it's totally fine. I was, 10 when this album came out. So like even though you know, I remember September 11th and vividly I remember, the aftermath, all of that. Like you know, it's not like I was watching the news all the time. I wasn't like fully caught up on like, the hows and whys and whatever. So I actually used to skip this song all the time just because it is very abrasive. And as a kid, I was like, I just want to listen to clocks and like the nice sounding songs. So I never really listened to this song until I was a bit older. And because it is very like profound and like pretty deep. Like it's not really like an easy song to listen to because it is pretty intense. Um, but the spelling of the word politic, like I was interested in that. So I looked it up and I don't know if any of you know like the meaning of how that word is spelled, but it comes from the term realpolitik, which is German for realistic or practical. And so that term of realpolitik, it means politics or diplomacy based on considerations of given circumstances and factors rather than ideological notions. So I think it's perfect that it was like that because like, when an event like that happens, you like even just like, with what we've been through with the pandemic, you kind of put like the normalcy of politics like aside sometimes. And it's like, okay, this is something that we're dealing with that we've never dealt with before. And so things are going to go a little bit differently and things are looking differently. And we're like really looking for this, you know, um, sense of like oneness and globalness. And you kind of put aside like, you know, blue and red of politics. Like even though like there are some differences, it's like in a moment like that, it's like you just feel this oneness with everyone of like, wow, like something has happened that is going to change us forever. And and I think that that's what Chris Martin is really saying in that song. Like he like there's a lyric he literally says like give me one or something. It's like this song is him like pleading out to everyone like I just want us to like find oneness and love, even though we've just been through this horrific thing. So even though, like, to the ear, it's not my favorite song, like, it really is a beautiful and, like, genius way to start this album, given the time period that it was put out.
That was
So,
very deep and profound. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
He
beautiful.
says, "Give
That was
me,
someone
give
else
me
right
one, give me one, because one is best." That's what he says.
Mhm.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, give me one because one is best. Yeah.
Wow.
and yeah, literally in the song, he's like, it literally says, "Open up your eyes, like just
Mhm.
recognize what's going on, and let's come together."
Right.
So next up is music videos. So um, there was 4 music videos based off the 4 lead singles. Honestly, we'll probably only talk about one of them because one of them is, I think,
Cool.
one of the best music
Iconic.
videos of all time.
Yeah.
But for Clocks and In My Place, it's essentially them just playing the song and like I think Clocks are on like a sound stage, maybe like there's an audience, but it's clearly like not like a live venue. And then In My Place, they're in like some empty warehouse, and they're just singing the song. And I think one cool thing about In My Place is uh, during a up close part where Chris is singing like really close to the camera, he accidentally spits on the on the lens, and then he does this like really cool like I don't know if he planned it or not, but he like wipes it away, and then it cuts to like another shot of the music
Oh, that's
video, and
cool.
I was like, oh okay, like
Interesting.
they're able to work around that. God Puts a Smile Upon Your Face is kind of an interesting music video. It's about this like businessman who almost like It's a Wonderful Life, like gets caught up in the minutia of like like earthly things, I guess, in terms of just like status and physical, you know, attributes and money and things like that. And it talks about like themes of like, you know, like we don't know what's after this life and all that. And it's cool. It's okay. But then the Scientist music video, like, I mean, how awesome is the music video? Like,
It is amazing. I remember watching that music video all the time on the VH1 Top 20 Countdown.
Damn.
Again, which is a very old person thing to say now. But yeah, I love that music video. It's so good.
yeah.
I forgot to look at the music videos for this. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fell off. But on Apple Music under music videos, they show a. I was gonna actually ask you this earlier, Brett, if they played anything at the Grammys, and they played Politic live at the Grammys. So that's interesting. I want to
did not
watch
know
this, and
that.
hopefully like Destiny's Child and Beyonce like they get on the stage and start singing along with them, just like the 2016 the 2016 Super Bowl halftime show.
But yeah, I mean the Scientist music video is just it's astounding. Like literally Chris Martin like learned the entire song backwards to like sing it.
Mhm.
Like that is crazy. And it just
Wait, so tell Josh about it since he hasn't seen it.
okay, so essentially the music video is about honestly the death of like a loved one of like his significant other, and it's talking about, I mean the song, like you know the song, but it's just essentially like this whole event takes place in reverse. So you see Chris Martin just walking through like basketball courts in like the city, and then it slowly starts
Forest.
yeah, Forrest slowly starts having him walk backwards and backwards, and then you see this car, you see this other car, you see like him like fly into it from the front windshield, and then it pulls away in this other car that they hit. Like it's very sad. Like I mean, the song is pretty
Right.
emotional already, but
It's in the feels.
the music video like really
Yeah.
takes it up a notch, and then just the technical aspects of them, him recording and singing the song backwards, and all the other stuff they had to do to make that backwards flow
Right.
forwards in a way.
Interesting.
It's great. It's great.
Sorry, I'm watching some of it on mute right now, and like
Yeah, I'm watching
you
it.
literally see the car tumbling upwards
Yeah.
because they get in a car accident and it crashes down. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know, like I mean, I've never seen a music video like it where
Yeah.
they
And
like the theme of like maybe telling the story backwards, yeah, but like things like you literally see in it happening in reverse, like it's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now too, and it's so crazy because I've seen so many music videos in my life, and this is one of those that just stayed ingrained in my mind. The car tumbling and all that stuff. Because I remember the first time I watched it, I was a stupid little boy, so I don't know what they were talking about until you get to the end of the song and you see. I was like, oh cool, he's just walking in reverse, and then you see this
Mhm.
happened, and that's why he was just walking aimlessly, you know. And it's
Interesting.
so incredible that it's just been stuck in my head this entire time. When I think
Yeah.
of the Scientist, I think of the video. And yeah, it's like you said, Brett, it's iconic.
Music videos of this time period were amazing. Like they told stories. And I mean, music videos now, they can as well, but it was like a thing of the early and mid 2000s. Like they like music videos, like one I still think about all the time is Hoobastank the Reason. Like that music video, it's like this like thriller movie, and it's like every 20 seconds it's like, oh my god, wait, this is happening? Wait, what? Like they were like short films, like they're really intense, and this is definitely one of the staples that I think of from that time period.
Yeah, like when was the last time you watched a music video for a song and like remembered it? Because like
Right?
and you'd watch the MTV Top 20 or VH1 Top 20,
Yeah.
and you'd be like, oh man, I really hope like, and then you'd like see like, oh, Scientist is number 2. I wish it was number 1
Right.
because it would go backwards.
Hey, did anyone else vote on the VH1 Top 20? Because like
I didn't know how.
I would
voted-
wait on dial up for like 30 minutes to get on the site and vote, and it was so much fun. I loved it. It was like my favorite pastime as a
Yeah.
Interesting.
young child.
I miss
Yeah,
music
Billy.
videos.
The only music videos I remember are BTS because I watched them so much. So,
Yeah.
but like
Same with
The-
Joji.
Did you see the
This-
rumors today on Twitter?
wait, what rumors? What rumors?
Oh, I mean, I feel like it's pretty well known rumor, but that BTS and Coldplay are gonna have a song on the new album.
Another
What?
like a collaboration song?
Uh huh.
Yep.
Yeah, for
No way, I haven't heard that, dude. I
Yeah.
haven't heard that.
yeah for
Oh,
Coldplay's new
no.
album. One of the songs is gonna be like BTS and Coldplay.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Damn.
which
I
So-
hadn't heard that.
You have a rival with Beyonce and Bruno Mars because they got on stage and took the thunder from the halftime show for the Super Bowl 2016. Are you now going to have beef with BTS because they're going to jump on this new album and just steal all the thunder from Coldplay on this new album?
I'm gonna say no because BTS is because it's a recorded song, so they had to work in collaboration for a long time, and it's Coldplay's album, so. And BTS is huge and arguably
Right.
bigger than Coldplay.
I think if
anyway, so-
anything, it's gonna, get some young BTS fans to discover Coldplay
yeah.
for the first
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mhm.
See, I want it. Go ahead, Billy.
Yeah, didn't BTS release a few weeks ago like a cover of "Fix You" or whatever?
Yeah.
They performed.
Oh,
that
they
cover.
did?
Yeah.
They
But
did
also,
the full
Brett, I
technical.
do want to ask you about that. Isn't Coldplay very weird about covers of their songs? Like, are
Uh,
they difficult with people covering their songs? Because I heard something about that they let BTS cover their song because they trusted them with it.
I
But
know.
I don't know if they're harsh with that.
I know, like they're very careful with like allowing their songs to be used for like movies, commercials, all that. So I
I've
would im-
heard so many covers of Fix You. I can't believe
Uh-huh.
that would be real.
I would
Okay, yeah, no, I
imagine.
just-
But I'm pretty sure Glee did Fix You. So if Glee got it, like
And I'm not sure what the rules
anyone
are,
can get
like,
it.
was that BTS doing it on like a singing show or something, or like it's not like they put it out on their own like album or something. And you
No,
can do
yeah, it
covers
was
for
it
you
was
don't
like
need the
kind of an award
permission.
show, yeah.
You don't need the permission to do a cover, right? I don't think so. Like for
Like if you're just like a YouTuber,
They're
like just
performing it.
yeah,
I don't
know.
think so. No, I think it's only
Yeah.
if it's like on in media. Like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I've definitely seen live shows of like Mac DeMarco where his guitar breaks down on stage and they're like, you gotta just fill time, and then they just drunkenly sing Yellow at the top of their lungs and like butcher it. Like it's just a fun little bit they do. So I don't think you have to necessarily jump through all the hoops of going through Chris Martin for like covers and stuff like that.
Oh, they performed it on MTV. That's what they
Oh.
performed it on.
Um.
On MTV
All right.
I have to
Unplugged.
watch that.
So now we are coming up to our favorite category, Hot Stop. What's our least favorite Coldplay song from this album? Kate, I want you to go first because I like your reaction.
Okay.
to-
Well, I have now I feel bad. I'm gonna right now I'm gonna change it. I pretty much always skip God Put a Smile Upon Your Face. I just don't like it just doesn't appease my ear. I don't know. Like the sound of it, I just don't like it. I'm just not a fan. I think like the message of the song is good. Like the message of the song is basically like we don't know why we're here and we don't know what happens when we're going to die, but like you're here and like you should just live your life. Like you're lucky to be alive. Do your thing. So I like the message. I just don't like the song. And then I don't listen to the song Daylight either. Like I don't have anything like I don't think that any of the songs on this album are bad. I have the feeling that you think a song is really bad. I don't think any of them are bad. Some of them I just don't enjoy listening to as much. So God Put a Smile Upon Your Face, Daylight, and A Whisper. I really don't like. Oh, like, well, the reason why I don't like it is what makes it a really good song is because it's like anxiety inducing. But I think he does that on purpose. It's very repetitive, but it's because he's hearing like this whisper, this like internal dialogue, right? Like that's pretty much the point of the song. And like and one of like the lyrics say, I hear a sound of the ticking of clocks. Who remembers you when you are gone? So it goes back to like clocks and thinking about the concept of time and what am I doing here? And so again, I think the message of that song is really good. I just don't enjoy listening to it.
Yeah. Billy, least favorite song?
Yeah, I was also gonna say A Whisper because, like, we talk a lot about the length, and I'm like, man, A Whisper kind of drags. It's like
so
not even a 5-minute song. And there's like other longer songs
It's the second shortest song too.
Like Amsterdam, and yet Amsterdam feels so much shorter than A Whisper. But it's because Amsterdam has like it travels, where A Whisper is just like it's this, and this is what you're getting for the next 4.5 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not even 4.5 minutes, just 4 minutes. So.
Oh, it feels like longer. I keep saying it's longer than it actually is because
You
it
just keep
feels like an
saying it's A
eternity.
Whisper, and I'm like, I get it, dude. I get it. But
Yeah.
I guess you do bring up a good point, though. It's like probably, the point that it's supposed to be this incessant thing,
yeah.
because it's an incessant thing bothering him. But like, then it makes me not want to listen to the song. So
Yeah.
It's to its detriment, I'd say.
Josh, least favorite song?
All right. So I'm gonna go with the same method I did last week. Last week I said like Everything's Not Lost is a great song, but then Life is for Living takes the thunder of wrapping up the album. I'm gonna go with Amsterdam. It's a hot take. Amsterdam, because A Rush of Blood to the Head is beautiful. It's a beautiful 6-minute ballad, and it earns those 6 minutes. And it literally gave me goosebumps, like just that kind of theme that we were talking about of just making like irrational decisions and getting like a rush of blood to the head, but also being like hell bent, like with the lyrics of like, he said, I'm going to buy a gun and start a war. If you can find me, if you can tell me something worth fighting for, oh, and I'm going to buy this place, is what I said. Blame it all on a rush of blood to the head. Like that was just, oh, dude, like that, like literally, like gave me chills down my spine and like goosebumps. And then we go to Amsterdam and it's this like weird piano and like Chris Martin is singing about masters but is doing it in like a little like Scottish Irish accent. It was just so weird to me. Like I don't know. It like A Rush of Blood to the Head is definitely like a good album closer and a great title track, unlike last week with Parachutes, where Parachutes was just kind of like that title track was just like what's going on here, like is lackluster. A Rush of Blood to the Head, perfect, like just bow tie on this album, and then Amsterdam has to come in for like 5 minutes straight and just like steal that song's thunder. So like that's my beef with it, because this album is very like all the singles are up front, like from Politic to Clocks, and then Daylight to A Whisper is just like unforgettable, or not unforgettable, forgettable. Those are the forgettable lows where it's like, okay, these are all just long, like drug out songs. Like I don't really care. Like, and then A Rush of Blood to the Head like brings it back, and then yeah, Amsterdam's just I feel like a weak closer for the album. So that's my hot stop.
Okay, but if Amsterdam wasn't the closer, if it was like placed anywhere else on the album, would you like the song more?
Possibly. Well, I don't know if I'd like this song more. It'd just be in the forgettable, like it just be in that forgettable lump from Daylight to A Whisper. Like
Okay,
it
well
would,
then you're
that's
wrong.
where I'd put it. That's where I'd put it. I'd put it in that forgettable chunk and then close
Damn,
out on
Josh.
Rush.
Because I agree, like Amsterdam like does like I agree that A Rush of Blood to the Head could have been the closer. I mean, I think that Amsterdam's a beautiful closer, but like I just think it's a beautiful song. Like I don't really care about the placement of it. I just can't believe that you don't think it's like a pretty sounding song, like at all.
I don't know. It was just it took away, it stole the thunder from A Rush of Blood to the Head on the track listing. I may have to come back to it, but as of right now, that's where it stands. That's my weakest song on the album.
Yeah, it's his opinion, you know. As wrong
Yeah.
as it
Okay,
is.
no, it's fine.
As wrong as it
That's
is.
why I asked the
I just go
question.
with hot
I just
takes, you
wanted
know,
to
hard
know.
But
Ugh.
I have to
Okay.
clarify that Parachutes, the title song from the album, I love. So I just got to say that again because I love it. So
I also love it.
It's
I-
such a good song.
It leaves
Did you
wondering-
guys talk about why it's only 46 seconds or whatever? Like,
We talked.
covered a little.
We
bit
talked
of it.
about why. Like we talked that it was short, but I don't know. I don't know
Mhm.
why it's so short.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
I need to
Asa
do research on that.
Asa brought up that like it left him wanting more, and yeah, I feel like that was really like
That's why I
Yeah.
love it
like
so much. Yeah.
yeah, it left me wanting more, but was also pretty lackluster versus A Rush of Blood to the Head, just super
Yeah.
fulfilling. Like top 4 for A Rush of Blood to the Head on this album.
Gino,
Chef's kiss.
hot stop.
So,
All right.
Josh is making me decide where I want to rank this album, and because I'm agreeing
do that.
heavily, I'm agreeing heavily with everything he's saying,
Oh,
except
Thank you.
except for these last two things. I think A Rush of Blood to the Head is a little mid. I don't think it's as good as Josh says. I think Amsterdam, I would replace it with Amsterdam. I think Amsterdam is a nicer song than A Rush of Blood to the Head. But I agree where Daylight up to a Whisper are pretty forgettable songs. Like I would, and I want to guess that your least favorite song, Brett, is a Whisper, because that song is just not good.
Yeah.
And like I was
Shots
going
fired.
while you guys were doing it. I was going through every song just to listen to the first 5 seconds, because for me, the way I like the way music gets me is in the first few seconds of it. If I like the beginning of a song, I'm probably gonna like the rest of it.
Right.
And for a lot of these, I'm okay with listening to the rest of it. But a Whisper, I just will always skip, because I don't like how it starts. I just don't like hearing it. So that's definitely gonna be the worst one for me. And I'll bet money that it's yours as well, Brett.
Damn.
Yeah.
Let's hear
So
Let's hear it.
yeah, my least favorite song from this album is The Sigh and No, A Whisper.
Gosh.
I told you,
Go.
it's a bad song.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, it's not a bad song, and when I was listening to it today and a few days ago, like, and I feel like this is the case with all bands that achieve like this kind of level of success, where they're technically proficient enough that, you know, I mean, most cases, like, not any song is just like complete, like, you know, like the Jose Marino meme where he's like taking off his headphones and like trying to get away from the music. But A Whisper, like, it starts, I don't know, it's just abrasive with how it starts, and then when it tries to like switch from like the like I just feel like the song isn't mixed very well, like technically. Like
Mhm.
like when he's trying to sing out loud and belt it a little bit more, the way it's mixed, it sounds the same like loudness as like the whisper parts of the song. I don't know how to explain it. It's just very skip for me. It's just the way the song starts. It's, I don't know. It just doesn't key me in.
Yeah.
Was it just me, or did it like were there moments where it sounded like someone was just breathing heavy into the mic to add like a theme of whispers to the song? Like that kind of came across as like really corny to me. So like, yeah, I don't know, it was weird.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it sounds like, Gino. Like just people breathing into the mic to like add on to the song, but it just it's a weak one for sure.
Yeah, and I think we can get into it now, and because we've already talked about it a little bit, but just the closer of the album, Amsterdam, like that song does a little bit of that whisper too, where the very end of the song where he just transitions to piano only, and you kind of can hear him exhale a little bit, which for whisper, like, I guess it goes well with just the name the name and nature of that song, but I love it for Amsterdam, especially that it's in like a studio recording. And that song, the way it starts, like I don't even know what sound that is. It's like an echo of something, and then the piano is just so soft and slow, and it's just I love it. It's perfect.
I read that it was a reverb of like a mic dropping.
Is it okay? Because that like
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard anything like that except for in
Yeah,
this song.
it's very strange. Like in my head, I kind of envision like a drop in the ocean kind of vibe. Like I don't know. That's like the feel I get. And then it's like the piano is kind of like, oh, like you're floating and the waves are like do do like that. I don't know. That's like the
true.
feeling it gives me.
I agree with you, Cait. It's like a drop in the ocean, but
Yeah.
but you're inside the water.
Yeah, because it's like echoes. It's like you
Yeah.
hear like an explosion like
Yeah.
out in the
Yeah.
air, but you're underwater, so it's like an
It's so
echoey
cool.
sound. Yeah, it's really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. And title track, A Rush of Blood to the Head. I know Josh loves it. Billy,
Chef's kiss.
What are your thoughts on the title track?
I honestly, it's a song I actually skip a lot also, just because it's like really depressing sounding, but like not in like a sad, beautiful way. It's like a sad, like, just like, I don't know, it feels like, I don't know if this is too much to say, but like, especially again, given the time period of this being released after 9/11, it gives me the vibes of like, this is like the protagonist almost sounds like someone who was planning something bad. And he's using the excuse of like, oh, it's just a rush of blood to the head. But like, and then especially the fact that he says like, I'm going to buy a gun and start a war. And I know that that's not like directly what it means, but like, it just gives me those feelings, and I just don't like those vibes. They're just kind of like creepy to me.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that's exactly what it means. Like the whole kind of where the entire country was at. Maybe not
Yeah.
something
Like-
very specific, but like 2001, 2002, like where the media was and all that. It was very much like aggressive.
right. It like that, like George Bush, like we're gonna invade Iraq for what they did.
Mhm.
Yeah. I definitely, I can see those parallels now, and yeah,
You're
the
Yeah.
rethinking then, Josh.
Yeah,
You're
I was.
rethinking it.
I was. No, but I still think it's great because like, yeah, I still like
And
it.
I think it still has that message, like and I don't think like it's painting it as a good thing, obviously, but I also think, to Josh's prior point, I think this would be such a bummer to end on. Like
Yeah.
a song like this, like
100%.
They're both bummers.
Ye-
Amsterdam and A Rush of Blood to the Head were
No.
both.
But
and-
Amsterdam is more like personal sadness or relationship sadness.
I
Like,
actually have more notes on Amsterdam that I would love to touch on why it's a great closing track. But I don't want us to skip over A Rush of Blood to the Head.
Yeah, we can go to the like just talking about Amsterdam as closer in a second, but yeah, Rush of Blood to the Head is like it's exactly kind of what you said, Kate, of like that time period of like when he's like, I want to buy a gun and start a war if you can tell me something worth fighting for. And Josh said that too, like especially the Western world at that time, like there's a lot of anger and angst of what do we do after this huge tragedy occurred, and a lot of people were just looking for a way to release that. And obviously, like with real world politics, certain moves were made in terms of in the invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, and all that. So I think it does encapsulate that time pretty perfectly. But yeah, let's go to Amsterdam as a closer. Kate, what kind of notes you got for us?
So basically just why, and I didn't realize this until listening last night and like really like deep diving into lyrics. I am like a lyric hoe, by the way. Like the first time I listened to an album, like if you didn't know, now you know, I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. Anytime and like lyrics are also a big deal, like with her music. Like anytime she releases an album, I do like huge deep dive into all the lyrics because I come from a singing background, so like lyrics are just like what makes or breaks like an album or a song for me. So that's like what I primarily focus on when I'm like ranking or thinking about how much I like a song or an album. Um, and why I think Amsterdam is such a perfect closing song is because pretty much all the songs on this album deal with the themes of time, like anxiety, uncertainty, whether it's in a romantic relationship or personal life things or what's going on in the world. Those are basically like the main themes. And Amsterdam kind of goes through a journey of all of those things. Like it starts out very kind of like calm and introspective and like but then like the chorus goes into like time is on your side now, and so that's showing that maybe like there's finally like some light at the end of the tunnel, like for the singer, like there's some sort of like realization or change, like okay, I've been going through all this shit, but now it's like maybe time is like actually on my side for once. Maybe I'm not like scared of the concept of time anymore. But then when that piano comes in and it goes into that amazing ending verse, it's like so intense. And then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I've decided, fuck that. I'm actually insecure as hell. And I have no idea like what my life is. I don't know what's going on. Everything is chaotic. Um, and then again it slows down, and the last few lines are, you know, you came along and you cut me loose, and then it's again kind of this relief of like, okay, like I just went through a lot, I'm thinking about a lot, but you know what, like I found this person, or I found this concept of home, relief, and then it's like, okay, you know what, now I'm kind of okay again. So that's why I think it's a perfect closing song, because I kind of think it wraps up all the feelings of the previous 10 songs all in one.
Yeah,
And plus, I just think it's a beautiful song. So,
especially when you compare it to Politic, which is like full of angst and uncertainty, but no real clear answer, the way that this song kind of provides it, would you say? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I think like the point of Politic and A Rush of Blood to the Head is it's like someone trying to come to terms with what's happening and thinking that they maybe have like answers of how to like solve things or just how to like cope with oneself, but ultimately still feeling like incredibly lost and unsure of how one is feeling, or how to cope and move on with what's going on. Like that's what I think like those two songs are really about.
Yeah,
So
that's a fantastic answer. Gino,
Good analysis.
Billy,
yeah,
any thoughts on the closing song?
I think Cait wrapped that up beautifully.
I know, man. I know.
We can follow up on that. No, yeah.
I didn't come here to play. I am like in this, man. I am like, this is one of my favorite things to do, and I'm so excited to like keep moving forward with the rest of the albums, because I love deep diving into lyrics and concepts of albums. Like I just love music so much. So this is my bread and butter right here. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I agree with everything Cait said, and if I was Josh, I would feel a little bad right now because
yeah, Josh, did I sway you at all now? Have you like?
It's so true. Yeah,
I'm gonna spend 11 minutes listening to both these songs because they're both just like long, but like I'll think about it. I'll think about it. You've definitely given me a little bit more to think about, but I don't know if I can back down from the stance. You know, like
It's
I feel
okay.
like
I get it. It's all right.
yeah, I'm just gonna double down on it and just take to Twitter and bash Amsterdam a little bit more. Like I don't know if
Wow. Wow.
Um,
Quick note, in A Rush of Blood to the Head in the second verse, does anyone else hear the sound of like a cow mooing? Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
I gotta go.
Yeah, it's the second verse.
Can you give me a timestamp?
Yeah, hold on.
That is, you kind of threw me for a loop. Now
It's just the scientist, man. It's just so good. It's just so good, you know. It's crazy.
God, the song's so long. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah,
It's great.
While she looks that up, I kind of wanted to just talk about the era of this album. Like last week with Parachutes, we briefly talked about the EPs and the singles that were leading up to the release of this first like album that they actually put out. But since this was their second album, they had some stuff before this album came out that kind of led into A Rush of Blood to the Head, and then they had singles and EPs kind of after. And we also talked about this last week with Parachutes. There wasn't like, I know Coldplay does this a lot, and Cait, you might know this too, but like for every album, Coldplay typically does like a live DVD where they include all the performances from like one specific live show that they really knocked it out of the park, or they kind of pick live performances from different venues that they really like want to include as like the definitive live album. But with Parachutes, that didn't really happen, probably because they were just getting started out, and they did have a live album, but it was like came out in Norway, or it was like they played it in Norway and it was only on CD, and so it's not as prevalent and not as known as like the definitive live album. And they don't even play all the songs from that album. They only play like 5 songs, but the live 2003 album is phenomenal. And if you guys get a chance, you should re-listen to it or rewatch it, because some of the performances for these live songs are just amazing. The whole venue is electric, and as Cait said, there's a couple of songs on there that are on any other release. So like Moses is only on the live 2003 album, and it's a great song. And then certain like singles from EPs like 1.36, which is like, Josh, you're saying a lot of these songs in the album are long. 1.36 is like literally like a minute 15, and it's this like intense hard rock like song that's like over and out and like a bit.
See, now we get to the Parachutes complex of like too short. I know I'm going to listen to the song and I'm going to be like, man, this is like too short. We didn't get a nice balance here, and I kind of want more, and it's going to be lackluster. So come on, Chris, like just give me good like 3-minute just digestible songs, please, Chris. I'm asking you.
Yeah, Crest of Waves, which I love. It's such a cheerful song. Animals is very introspective, kind of going along the theme of the actual main album. This song Animals is very introspective. I love it. It's beautiful. And then Murder is great, and Moses. So those are some of the big standout tracks from like the EPs and singles that were released around this time that were phenomenal, and you should definitely give them a chance if you are keen for that. But Cait, you said you were looking something up with the movie.
So 306, A Rush of Blood to the Head.
Got a cow mooing.
Yeah, listen for the cow.
306.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah.
Sounds just like that.
I don't know if it's like a guitar.
I think that's a guitar.
Yeah, it sounds like
a guitar. It sounds like a cow.
It does. I think
it's a guitar playing a cow mooing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Damn. I mean, it takes talent to make a guitar sound like a cow. I mean, I don't play guitar, but
right.
I just, ever since I was a kid, I've always heard that. And it immediately takes me to like, oh, wow, I'm a kid on a farm thinking about, state of the world.
Right. This is going to be a little bit of a deep dive, but do you remember in like Pixar movies, like when you go see it in a THX theater and there's that little animation of like the robot guy coming in and he had the cow sound? Like, you remember that, Bret?
Yeah.
And that's like how they'd like demo the sound. It was just like a bunch of mooing cows. That's kind of what that sounded like.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen it.
It's interesting how you as like when you were younger caught onto that little sound, Cait, because I feel like if you brought it up to them, they'd be like, "What are you talking about? What sound are you talking about?"
I don't know. Sometimes you just hear something and then it's like you can't unhear it.
It sticks,
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Last quick category before we get into the ranking, but favorite lyric. What's y'all's favorite lyric from?
I was not prepared for this.
That's okay. I'll go first. If you guys don't have any, or just
actually, I do have one. But go ahead, you go first.
Just a song, but yeah, the lyric from Amsterdam at the end where he says, "You came along and cut me loose." Like, yeah, that always just hits me emotionally every time I listen to it. So, but this song or this album specifically has so many great lyrics. Like, um, like I love Parachutes. But just off the top of my head, just thinking about the lyrics, they're much more simpler, and that I feel like that's a pretty common like not critique, but just analyzation of Parachutes as an album is that it's
Well, and as a first album too, I think,
right, right. As a first album, just kind of like what they wanted to make with this album, and just setting the tone for how Kate said like the whole album is like the same vibe, whereas this one it's much more different, and so the lyrics are a little bit more dynamic in that way. So the lyrics in this album are pretty amazing, even on songs that aren't particularly my favorites. I still think they're pretty great. But anybody else have any standout lyrics?
Yeah, for sure.
I was looking, since The Scientist is my favorite song, I was looking at the lyrics here. And this particular lyric, ah, ooh, 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 is.
You made yourself laugh, didn't you?
That hits hard.
Yeah.
You thought that was real funny, didn't you?
I was looking at, I don't know anything. I wasn't ready for this, Brett. I don't know what you didn't tell us, dude.
I know.
So I in Clocks, my favorite lyric is "Nothing else compares."
Yeah.
I think it just relates to a lot, and those are lyrics that I've actually considered getting tattooed for several years, for multiple different reasons. So I love that. In Warning Sign, which apparently is a forgettable song, so I know no one really cares. But I love the lyric, "A warning sign, it came back to haunt me, and I realized that you were an island, and I passed you by, and you were an island to discover." I love that. Also, just shout out to Green Eyes. I know that it's just like a cute little acoustic love song bop, but I love that song.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't talk about it, except that he stopped singing it when he met Gwyneth Paltrow. So, like, I feel like that's even more of a diss that he's like, okay, like, I can't sing about my ex-girlfriend anymore. So, yeah. And then again, like, pretty much all the lyrics in Amsterdam are just beautiful.
Yeah.
I was looking at, serious note, I was looking at the lyrics for The Scientist, and this one just stood out to me right now that I had to read the lines around it to sort of think about what he's saying. "Do not speak as loud as my heart." Right before he says, "Questions of science, science in progress," and he says, "Do not speak as loud as my heart." I guess that's really like telling of just human beings in general. Like, especially
that's my favorite lyric in The Scientist too. Just
human beings in general, definitely in today's world, like it's very hard to convince people that feel something so passionately of something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, and I feel like that's what this is saying too in this one lyric. And it's very
that line is perfect because I think like the scientist, like, you know, he's referring to himself as a scientist. It's like he's going through this breakup. I mean, in the music video, it's something different, but like if you just listen to the song, it's basically like about a breakup. And it's like he's trying to like figure out why the relationship ended, like logistically. And then that line kind of shows like, you know, you can look at it scientifically, but it's like why relationships fail or succeed is just because of what happens with the heart. Like there's really no like logistical way to figure out why a relationship's works or doesn't, you know. So yeah, I love that line.
Wild.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Green Eyes much, but that's like one of my favorite like love songs because it's so simple and it's just one person singing to somebody else.
I have a friend that was like their first dance song and it was really beautiful.
Man. Yeah. They got to be married now, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think they're still together. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get into the ranking. So some of the criteria for the ranking is some of the singles, lyrics, instrumentation. So like the guitar, piano, drums, all that. the themes of the album, which we talked about as well, and then other stuff too, like the album cover and stuff. And just anything that would grab you or make you appreciate or not appreciate the album as much. So since we only have one other album to rank it, I'll just go ahead and ask you, raise your hand if you think this album is better than Parachutes.
I'm.
Don't do it, dude. Don't do it. Don't stab me in the back like
I'm gonna
this.
do it.
Gino, you said we agreed,
I was
dude.
jumping around. I was jumping around a lot in my mind, and I think
Okay,
this one's
I
really
have
good.
like. Okay, so like if I like worked at Pitchfork or whatever, and or
Yeah.
I was like having to do this professionally, I think that A Rush of Blood to the Head is like a better like produced album. But as a person who just likes listening to music, I prefer Parachutes as an album. But I think that A Rush of Blood to the Head is a better album. You know what I mean? So I don't really know how to rank it.
I'm the same way. Like my heart says Parachutes, but just looking at each album like holistically, I guess, and then just seeing what people generally say about both albums, like I feel like it's not crazy to say that A Rush of Blood to the Head is, and I said this at the beginning, like it's generally considered Coldplay's best or one of Coldplay's best, just from reception, reviews, all that, sales, all that. But yeah, something about Parachutes, I just vibe with way more, and so I think that's why I'm ranking Parachutes over A Rush of Blood to the Head. And I know that's crazy because like, yeah, that's just wild. And so basically Gino is the only one to vote for A Rush of Blood to the Head. But that's the thing is like, I feel like at the end of the day, A Rush is gonna be like in the top 2 or 3. Like I don't think it's gonna fall that much
Not if I
farther.
have a say about it.
I feel like in the coming weeks, like my ranking is gonna change for sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. For sure.
Like my favorite Taylor Swift album changes like every day. So like I'm really like I don't,
Yeah.
who knows where we'll end up.
Yeah,
Will the
that's
internet yell at us? Hopefully, that's the whole
Yeah.
point, right? It's the whole point of making a list.
Trying to stir up some chaos, yeah.
Exactly.
I think we're stirring chaos by voting Parachutes over A Rush of Blood to the Head because Asa last week said Parachutes was his number one favorite. Like he just said it all. He's just said it off the jump. Like it was his number one.
Right.
So
Mhm.
I feel like he would vote Parachutes as well. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So we have Parachutes as number one, and then we have A Rush of Blood to the Head as number 2. And next week we have X and Y. Guys, what are
I'm very excited.
your thoughts on just getting ready to dive into X and Y?
I am very excited to hear what Josh thinks about X and Y, based on things that I've heard today.
Interesting. Yeah, on Apple Music, under Coldplay, they have essential albums, and it's literally Parachutes and A Rush of Blood to the Head, or like out of all the studio albums, are the only two like listed. So we got the big dogs out of the way. I'm curious to see if they can keep the momentum going, and I mean, hopefully hopefully it's just not as long. Hopefully there's no like, hopefully 3/4 of the album isn't over 5 minutes.
Oh,
Oh
no
no.
spoilers, but you got a big
Damn.
storm coming, Josh. You got a big storm
Damn.
coming.
I mean, hopefully it goes by faster. Hopefully it's like paced out better. Like,
I'm excited for it. I'm looking at the album at the song the track list right now, and I know there's more than just 2 singles in this album as well, but it gives me the same that formula of there's 2 songs that if you don't listen to the full albums of Coldplay, these songs. It's Fix You and Speed of Sound. People are always gonna know those songs. So it's just like for me, it's like they're always gonna have 2 songs that are just the absolute best songs Coldplay has released.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited to hear it.
I think X and Y has some secret bangers, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, some of my favorite songs are on this album. I'm so excited to talk about it. I'm so excited.
It'll be interesting because I saw that too on Apple Music, like the essential albums for Coldplay, and I would say Viva would definitively be on there. And
Right.
then
Oh yeah.
I think that
Well, yeah.
I think for
number
essential,
one
I
right
think
there.
you have to include Viva. So it's just
But
those
do,
three.
do you include Viva or do you include Viva the March
Prospects edition.
special edition?
Next
Yeah,
March.
whatever it is. You know, I
Either,
feel like
I would
that's
go with-
what's keeping Viva off of there. Is there's 2 different quintessential editions. You know.
either way, like I which yeah, we can get into that later, but like listening to like the extended kind of albums to get all the B-sides if you want. But yeah, X and Y is gonna be fascinating because like just publicly for the band, this was a very tumultuous time for them. So it'll be interesting to see how we all take that into consideration, or like how that affects the music that we got, and then how that reflects on us. So yeah, it's gonna be super fascinating. X and Y, it's very underrated, I think. But it'll be interesting to see where it ends up at, because yeah, it's just a lot of fascinating discussion about that album. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, Billy, Cait, Gino, and Josh. Also, we'll be back next week, hopefully. And yeah, next week is X and Y.
Yay.
And yeah, descriptions for last week's episode, descriptions for everybody's socials will be down below. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week for X and Y.